Hello and welcome to my banqueting build log for Stronghold Kingdoms. In this video I'll be covering days 43 to 49 and documenting my progress therein. So I managed to reach the goal that I sort of set for myself last week. I'm currently at Duke 15th rank, which is the lowest rank, but I did make it to Duke, so not too disappointed in that. When it comes to my villages, I did end up capturing the village that was in between my two other villages. It's selected right here. And you can see it's in the middle of the map. It is my 8.0 village. If we take a look at it, it is a lowland village, and it, interestingly enough, looks like it was set up to be a resource farm because we have a lot of woodcutters' huts and a lot of stone quarries. And when you look at the castle, it's generally not what you see from somebody who actually cares about building up a village this well. But I could be wrong. This is just what I have noticed in my experience, but this looks like a type of farm, and there really isn't a whole lot of production here besides the wood and stone and some ale. So taking that village was around a 1.4 million honor hit, and that's considerably big because 200,000 honor more, and I would have actually have made 2 sub-ranks of Duke out of that. But it sort of helped that the wolf happened to spawn once again in my parish shortly after I captured this village, and I removed it for a cool 547,000 honor, which isn't too bad. Now it was the Lake Wolf Castle, and I used the classic bombard the entire thing with catapults, and then walk into the keep after the speed that up a bit. Walk into the keep after the catapults were done tearing the entire castle down and killing the troops stationed on, or formerly stationed, I should say, on the towers. Yeah, overall, it's a great attack strategy. It's the one that I have used in my videos on how to remove the wolf castles. So very happy with that, as I should be. The wolf castle before that, I didn't actually manage to remove it by the time I finished researching catapults, because that's we're going to cover that shortly. I didn't manage to complete the research I needed in time to remove it, so somebody else beat me to it. But luckily enough, when this wolf castle spawned, my catapult research was all done, so it was pretty spot on, I think. So let's just jump into the research tree, and I'll take you through the researches that I completed in the past week. I put the last point of research into stone quarrying for a total of level 8. In the military tab of the research tree, as I alluded to a little bit earlier, I put 9 points of research into Catapult, maxing it out at level 10 for an increased firing rate of 50%. Obviously, comes in very helpful when attacking even the AI castles, and if you're attacking other players, it's pretty much a necessity. I did max the longbow and pike obviously before Catapult because they serve dual purpose of defense as well as offense. Also, in the military tab of the research tree, I put 1 more point of research into leadership to unlock my 8th village slot. Lastly, in the education tab of the research tree, I put 3 points of research into baptism and an additional 2 points of research into stockpile capacity. After I put all of those points of research into stone quarrying, I started making enough stone to the point where I felt it necessary to increase my stockpile capacity so I don't actually exceed the limit. A lot of the buildings now are requiring more stone, and I'm also using them to donate to the parish guilds. All that excess stone is definitely coming in handy. And I was going to explain the reasoning behind putting 3 points of research into the baptism technology. Now, most recently, as of a couple of days ago, I experienced my first major parish plague. Before this, there had always been monks inbound from other players quite quickly, almost as soon as the disease spawned in my parish. But this last incident, that was not the case, and I sort of realized that we're getting to the point in the game where a lot of players have completed those early quests at least, and I sort of realized that I was going to have to sort of take matters into my own hands. Now, as I've explained, the reasoning behind putting 3 points of research into the baptism technology is because that will allow you to heal 5 points of research per monk, and if the disease is particularly nasty, you can always put a ×2 card in play, and that will allow each monk, I should say, to remove the standard of 10 points per monk. And I like the flexibility of that, especially considering the fact that I have a lot of research points waiting for me to finish, 29 as of this video. I lost my premium token. It ran out for the 7th day, and I didn't put it back in because the research times are to the point where I'm not going to be saving a whole lot of time if I have them queued up like that, so they finish one right after the other. But I have, up until this point, been using premium tokens during this log, so research is one of the things that I'm being constrained by time. So obviously if I can put a card in play instead, or give myself the option to put a card in play when the disease is particularly nasty, it saves me a lot of research points that I can focus on other areas of the research tree. And speaking of this, I had a player comment on my previous build log from last week about how to adapt this to a more militarized play style. One of the biggest problems that I see is if you're not going to be playing cards, you're still going to really want to stay in one parish. And this is a problem for most military players because the parish army is particularly useful in military conquests. So that, I think, is going to be one of the biggest barriers. But, you know, if you're committed enough to it, I'm sure you can make it work. Okay, now one of the reasons that you might choose the Banqueting build log over the no cards build log, even if you weren't using cards, and as I sort of attempted to explain in the comment section, is because there reaches a crossover path. Like right now, even though I started with strictly banquets, right now I can also generate a fair amount of honor through passive means, such as by placing the decorative buildings down around my villages. And this is, I mean, right now the way I have it set up, I could do it. I could have my fully maxed out passive honor build here in addition to the banqueting buildings around it. And I don't really know which one would be better to start with. I think for the first 5 days or so, I actually saw better progress doing passive honor. So you might want to take that in consideration if trying to blend builds here, if you want to sort of blend the banqueting build that I did with my no cards build. The banqueting build focused exclusively on banqueting goods, whereas my no cards build focused exclusively on passive honor. But I'm noticing here in my banqueting build that the two, banqueting and passive honor, are starting to intersect now as I have access to more research, or as I have researched more technologies and gained access to the buildings they unlock respectively. I would encourage you to experiment and try out, see what works best for you. Obviously, other players' circumstances are going to be unique, and I can't foresee everything. Generally, the more cards you can play, the better you're going to do, but it might actually be better if going for a banqueting approach to first focus on passive honor and then switch it up to banqueting. Not sure, so give it a try, and I hope it works out. But yeah, when it comes to more militaristic stuff, the biggest limiting factor if going for banquets is going to be the fact that you're going to want multiple parishes. And those guilds can be costly to upgrade, especially if you don't have cards in play to generate all those excess resources to either sell or donate. And I really think the passive honor one works better with that in mind, because you're going to be, right out of the gate, you're going to be focusing on having a high popularity, whereas I didn't focus on getting my popularity up until I'd finished completing all of the banqueting research. So the four branches, the first four branches that I use, in the industry tab under banqueting, I had completed these four completely before I ever started investing in research that increased my popularity. And right now you can see my popularity isn't all that great. Yeah, 62. That is pretty sucky, to be honest, but if you're recruiting units, you're not going to be getting much better, to be honest. With more food types, I'd definitely have better popularity, but yeah, I'll also get rid of this rain. But yeah, like I was saying, so to recruit troops, you're going to want high popularity. So anybody who's going for a military build, they want to make sure their popularity is sufficiently high to recruit units at a regular pace or at a decent clip. And they're also going to want enough space in the villages to actually put down a fair few weapons workshops, and that is one area that you can be slightly limited in. If we take a look at my first village, quite a bit of it is actually dedicated to the banqueting buildings. Of course, I can generate enough iron for a fair few armorers workshops, but when it comes to wood, it's really cutting into it because you're going to be needing the wood for the Fletchers and the pole turners. But you can always buy the excess. If you're not making enough wood, you can always buy it. Wood is generally affordable, I guess you could say. But that's really going to be, I think, one of the limiting areas. This is my first village, and it's been in building in progress for around 51 days. More like 47, I suppose, because I had to convert it early on. But yeah, I've been building this for quite a while, and I still haven't used up all the space, so I wouldn't be too worried about building more weapons workshops. But you might want to be aware of the resource constraints, because your banqueting and your weapons are going to be vying for some critical resources such as wood and iron. Overall, I think it's doable. I'm simply not interested in spending that amount of time on making it work, I guess. It takes time to produce videos, and I have things outside of the game, of course. And not to mention, not only that, but I'm getting a little bit bored of it again, of Stronghold Kingdoms. I think it's the sort of game that, I've been playing it for around 9 months straight now. Producing content for it on an almost weekly basis, and I think it's understandable that you might need a break from it for a couple weeks. So we're going to see how that goes. But I'm just, at this point right now, I'm really burnt out on talking about this. Anything I missed? But yeah, we're going to take a look at the Parish, of course. I did manage to upgrade the Metalworkers Guild and the Tailors Guild an additional level. The other two guilds, I really haven't done anything with them. So there was a period for about 4 days, maybe, yeah, I'd say it was 4 days. I really didn't pay any attention to the game besides just replaying banqueting cards and actually hosting banquets, so I didn't have my stockpile or my village hall overflowing with banqueting goods. So I've really been neglecting it. I could have done better otherwise. I did manage to build the Ballista Guild. I think that was last week, but yeah, that was important because the AI started really using a lot of catapults, and my archers simply couldn't reach the ones that are in the back. So a very crucial guild. But now currently I'm saving up flags. I have 5, saving up them and planning on building a siege workers guild next for the increased catapult productivity, because catapults are still a very valuable resource, as I learned when removing this wolf castle here. That cost me about 30 catapults, and I had to ship most of the other catapults that I currently held in my other villages all to my first village, simply to build up an army large enough to build that assault army. That was a terrible way of putting it, but yeah, you're gonna have to deal with it. When looking at quests, like I said, haven't been doing a whole lot again this week. I did manage to complete Healing Sick 1, Healing Sick 2, Intelligence Gathering 8, Flourishing Trade 4, and Living Off the Land 3. Interestingly enough, I completed all of those within the past day. So yeah, there were 6 days that I essentially wasted doing nothing in the quests department. All in all, I find the quests quite difficult they just take too much time. That's all I have to say about that. The amount of time that you're required to invest for the reward is not enough for me. I don't find it a value proposition. Finally, there isn't really a whole lot to say about the cards. I did play my standard 14 deer stalking cards this week, 14 furniture making, 14 metal crafts, and 14 tailoring. I still have a fair number of card points, so I doubt I'm going to run out before I hit prints. So hopefully that all turns out quite well. Anyway, thank you very much for watching as always, and I hope to see you next time.